been recently reactive on Twitter, is that if you want to, the best and fastest way I find is obviously get verified because you'll get 2 to 4 times the reach and you'll be seen first in replies. The next is if you can make a list of people that you would like to be able to follow, that you would like to engage with or to see you. So your feed isn't bombarded with the 1,000 followers you may have, hypothetically, even though probably only like 100 of them are posting, tweeting. And then you go to, you have two main, you have then go to the following. It would take everyone you're following in order, or you can go to that list and it'll go everyone you're following in chronological order of the tweets, and then go to the newest tweets and reply to those tweets. So not just the person's more likely to see it because you get the first comment or one of the first, as opposed to being lost in dozens. Also, all of the other people that are going to see that tweet later are then going to see your reply. If you reply 18 hours later, 85% of the juice of that tweet is already behind you, and they're not going to see your reply no matter how good it is, right? Even no matter how brilliant it is. So therefore, be first to reply, be verified. And I would say that's kind of like the two main things. And of course, organize who you want to speak to and, dedicate 5-10 minutes and don't overthink. But I think that's a good rule for life in general. Any recommendations or suggestions that you would give if you want to build a following for your company or for you as an individual?
So lists are an amazing solution to create your
so hard to build though. They're so time consuming.
It's just easy. You just go to the three dots and you just go
And add them,
to your list. And basically, you don't need to follow all the people that are interesting for your brand or for your community. And just add them to your list, and you can highlight that list, and it just creates a separate feed. And then you can basically manage who are you engaging with, and then you can pick the right conversation for you to enter. And I think this is a part of a larger strategy on what types of conversation you want to engage. Think about Twitter as you entering a room with lots of conversations happening at the same time. And now you need to, you basically have a choice. You can stand aside and listen, which I think a lot of people are not necessarily doing right. You have to listen. And then after you listen, you find the right conversation to you. And then you can decide, I want to join that conversation with my own unique take. And you go and you reply and you engage with the people in that conversation. Or if you're interesting enough or you have something to say, you start your own conversation. And that's another way to lead the conversation to the places where you want to be in terms of your brand or your company or your product. So, and as you mentioned, lists are a part of that listening strategy. You can curate your own list and listen to the right conversation that might not necessarily always pop up on your main feed. I have my own marketing lists with marketers that I like to read, and they don't necessarily always pop.
Is this a private list?
Yes.
So what do you think? I have an idea. Maybe I should do this. I think it would be fun. If we were to ever do an event, I think we'll make a list of people like tech marketers in Israel. I think I'll make a list. I'll make it public, and then other people can use the list. So if Elon's claiming it's so easy to make a list, but like, hey, I want to follow the top 200. How do I pursue them and find them and then make that list and whatever? And then a lot of them, they're just like, okay, they're a tech marketer, but they're only tweeting about politics, which is totally cool. But you're like, that's just not what I want for this list, right? As an example. So maybe we should, I think what I'll do is I think I will, and by I mean Anna from my team, we'll make a marketing list of the top Twitters, let's say, in tech marketing. And then therefore that way we'll be able, so we can all follow along there and be able to do it and be able to do it. The problem is, by the way, out of curiosity, maybe you can explain it. Why did you decide to make your list private? Can you maybe make it public for us so I can use it and I can pin it?
I think I have a couple of lists that are public. I have lists of different competitors that I don't want to necessarily make public. and I don't want to be, see like I'm actively following them, but I will make a list of competitors of my clients, or of the industry that I'm working to research right now. And every once in a while I will go to that list and I will start actively listening to the conversationing.
Rachel says Twitter lists are key for engaging on Twitter. Maybe we can make a list together and share it with people. If you have anything other questions, especially on ads, drop them here. Anything else organically or algorithm? If not, then I think we should totally pivot to B2B advertising.
No, I think that all the organic activity is the starting point for brands. Listening to the ongoing conversation and the right conversation to you, and find out who are the leaders of the conversation, and then later on targeting them and their audience as part of your ads campaign. It is a crucial part of your strategy and your planning for Twitter.
All right, let's pivot to ads. By the way, we got 13 retweets on this live so far on Twitter itself. So, and over 20 likes and 20. Okay, advertising. All right. Not too long ago, if someone said they wanted to advertise on Twitter, I'd say probably the same thing about Facebook, but I would say even worse things about Twitter, is that it sucks for B2B. For remarketing, it might be a good touch point, right? An important touch point where some people like to log into Twitter more than Facebook, and Facebook, let's say, more than LinkedIn. LinkedIn by far has the best B2B targeting, and it's the most scalable as of now. But that being said, with the opportunities that are now in Twitter, there is no reason, if you're a B2B advertiser, that if you're doing LinkedIn and Google, that putting at least starting a small budget of a few $100s, $1,000 a month on Twitter is a no-brainer, because there's all these new features that are happening now. Some are being tested on beta, some through third parties that we're working with, and let's unpack it. Okay, so it used to be that our clients, we would run ads on Twitter, and it was like, well, we don't know how good this data is because a lot of it were bots. Now, of course, there's still bots, but there are much fewer of them. And with the verified accounts, you know who's really human. It's a higher percentage of accounts are able to validate are not bots. So at least those impressions you're paying for are real. So I think that's a good starting place to talk about. Those are the good things that the immediate changes that you can see is you're literally just saving money on, let's say, 30% of what you were spending before were on bots, and now they are not. You've saved that targeting and those impressions from bots. But let's actually get into what matters. Let's talk about targeting. The first thing I want to talk about, which I think is very important, and you touched on it, is keyword targeting and negative keyword targeting. Obviously, whenever we say one thing, you can always do the opposite. And so first, I want to address the negative keyword targeting, because suddenly a lot of people really cared about, a lot of haters were like, oh, our ad, someone took a screenshot of our ad next to a hate tweet. Basically, think of how screwed up this person is. These people were searching for hate tweets on Twitter. That was their filtered feed, right? Hate speech. And then they're looking for the ads that show up in between, screenshot the top and the bottom, and send it to people to try to get them to stop advertising on Twitter, which is why everyone hates Twitter. But hopefully that's not one of the reasons. That's the downside, is the crazy people on there. But it's gotten much better now. Now what you can do is that problem has been solved. You can upload a list, and there are many, by the way. You can use ChatGPT as an example, just to ask for, please give me a pleasing list of negative keywords for Twitter ads that are related or adjacent to hate speech. It will, you know what I mean? It will give you an exhaustive list, yeah. Copy, paste, upload it. Your ad will never show on the same screen next to any word, anything. So any bad word that you can think of, which is appropriate, inappropriate, or maybe irrelevant, or let's say the name of your brand might be associated with a word that's kind of adjacent, but not, could be confusing, then you want to, then you can add these as negative keywords, very similarly like you would do for Google, but those would be search terms, but here you won't be showing up on the same screen. So that's terrific. So if you're worried about your brand image, which you should be, then it's important to understand that that has been addressed. Is it fair to say that if you were to do the negative keyword exclusions properly, that you don't have to worry about how your brand looks?
Well, the adjacency controls and the brand safety controls are now an integral part of our basically targeting on Twitter ads. And of course, brands should care about brand safety and about their brand image. And using these lists basically gives you more control of where your ads are being presented. And as you mentioned, you can upload a list of up to, I think, 3,000 keywords.
Oh, that's a
And
lot of hate words. That's a lot of hate.
I mean, obviously, you want to have this type of control of where your ads are presented. If you have a specific industry that you want to avoid, or a specific conversation that you don't want to be associated with, by all means, use these controls. It's simple. Once you do that, it's on the ad group level, and you can just copy paste it to any of your ad groups. It would just give you more control, and it's just so easy to do. And as I mentioned before, you can use it for keywords, and you can use it for handles. You can, make sure that your ads are not delivered or presented next to any handle that you don't want to be associated with.
Also handles too.
Yep.
Okay, so now let's talk about the fun part. Okay, now that you know that you can disassociate with anyone, and actually, Danny wrote, what did she write up top? She was earlier on. Here you go. Is that you can also not just block keywords, handles from your ads. So this means if I don't want my competitor to see my ad, I can do that. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. And also, so that it's an important exclusion. So now let's talk about competitor targeting and keyword targeting. Okay, this is cool. So just like you can target by keyword, you can exclude by keyword. So imagine for a second, Wadi Digital happens to do Twitter ads, B2B ads, startup marketing, B2B SEO, etc. I can take these keywords and I can put them in, and anywhere these keywords show up, my ad can show up adjacent and next to it. Correct?
Yes. Yeah. So
now, yeah, go ahead. Go. I was going to take it a step further, but yeah, please.
I mean, you have, as I mentioned before, you have two ways to target people on Twitter. You can target them by interest, which is keywords and handle lookalikes and their interest and events that they go to. So people that either wrote your keyword or engaged with that particular keywords are now a part of your audience. People that are following a particular handles. If you target that handle, they'll be a part of your audience. This is a part of the interest targeting part of Twitter. Right now, we have a new campaign, which is keywords, which is basically making sure that your ads are appearing next to the most valuable keywords to you. If you target people in the sports industry, you will target keywords about sports. If you target entrepreneurs, you will target articles about entrepreneurs, and then your ad will appear next to searches, on the feed, on replies, wherever or whenever these keywords are actually mentioned and delivered into your feed.
So terrific. I want to, go ahead. I didn't interrupt you.
And combining these two types of campaigns with what we now, you can use it just with your video and then drive traffic into your website. If you have an app, you can use an app installed campaign. But there are more options for you as a marketer to now drive performance on Twitter. And this is an integral part of our targeting suite.
Magid Abdul, you asked this thing works in the Middle East countries. If you can elaborate, I don't know what you're referring to. I'm happy to answer your questions.
I think that the meaning is for non-English speaking countries. I think that right now the adjacency control should work globally with any language.
Right, it's just from the algorithm. But I think what she's asking about Middle East countries might be different is only because Hebrew and Arabic are right to left. and some things are uniquely not supported. So I think that's why
Yeah.
she's asking. Okay, so let's talk about a little more targeting on keywords. I want to talk about, like you said, keywords, certain keywords, great sports. I mean, we should be talking about our clients. So, cybersecurity. Someone's writing about zero trust, and if you're in zero trust, you do that. You're in EDR, XDR, you want that. If you're in AI, what kind of AI you're doing? Use those keywords and show your ads. Get people to see your product, and more likely maybe to retweet it and tweet ads and things like that. You'd be surprised, because a good ad is good content. And so if you can do good targeting and it's a good ad, people should share, engage with it. I haven't. If you're doing proper marketing, you should be replying to the engagement on your ads. Okay, but the other thing that we can do is now let's talk about competitive targeting, because I can use our competitors, right? And next to their words, people using their words, we can show our ad. So if someone's talking about your competitor's product, whether positively or negatively, you can show your ad next to it.
Yeah.
So been like try an alternative in XYZ, right? Right. Enough about that. There's more than whatever, and you can kind of go in and piggyback off of it, knowing, right, having that ad group specifically next to those keywords, knowing that it's there and targeting above and below it. This is a very powerful way if you're a startup. So many of our clients, they go up against AWS, Microsoft, etc. Guys, we have such great advantages because we're fast, we're nimble, we understand this unique targeting. Their marketing teams in-house at these insanely large corporations, or just enterprises in general, even companies with 500 plus employees, they don't have the capacity, the knowledge, they're not as nimble, they're not on the front lines like we're able to do for you. So you can really do a lot. You can really, really punch upward much greater than they can, because they're just fat and slow, so to speak, right? They become complacent in the market.
I love that. I love the punch up position. I think this is a great opportunity for startups, and I would say you'll probably use that strategy for companies that are competing with your particular market, but you will also use that with companies that are competing with you on share of wallet. They're probably not a direct competitor, but they're also engaging with your industry. So basically, you can target these companies. You can target their hashtags, their keywords, their product name, and basically come up with the right audience that actually engage with these companies and these particular keywords.
So and they don't even have to be your competitor in business. They just happen to be. So I tell them about SEO. Sometimes your MSPs, your resellers, distributors, you're competing with them for the same keywords. They can even be reselling your product. So you need to be strategic about how you go about it and how you can actually leverage showing up next to them in the search engine results page, or showing up next to them, let's say in an organic feed such as Twitter. Okay, let's talk about. So we discussed so far that we will be able to, the thing where the targeting B2B, you can target companies, job titles, functions. These are things that are coming. We are currently testing this. Wadi Digital, we're testing. Let's talk about ABM. Account-based marketing. So, hey, I would really love to target people at these I made a list of these 2,000 companies that are, let's say, using this software, and that would be perfect for them now to use our SaaS product. A very standard example for Wadi Digital's clients, a very stereotypical, basic example. How would we be able to go about, if we're able to make a list of accounts or companies or things like that? We can go ahead and do that targeting. Do you want to talk about? You want to tee that up?
Yeah. So basically, using tailored audiences, you're now able to target particular companies, or you're able to target particular people based on roles and job titles. And yeah, we see Thomas right here in the comments. I think that. I think that the opportunity with ABM to do smart campaigns that are directed at your core audience of clients should be an integral part of your strategy on Twitter. So,
and by the way, I just want to be clear. Everything Elon's saying and we're saying here is just about marketing. Twitter happens to be the venue, the tool, the platform. You should be doing ABM on LinkedIn or through Sixth Sense or Metadata or Terminus and other platforms do. And to not do Twitter also, it just makes zero sense to me. So it's not just you should do it on Twitter. You should do ABM everywhere your audience is, because you're a real marketer, and especially in B2B, you understand that the funnel is exactly the funnel. It's more of a cake. People go in different layers and go on different platforms, consume different things. And it's very important to be omnipresent, because we need many, many, many touch points and different touch points in order to convert people, because different people will convert on different platforms and to different kind of messaging and different kind of ads. And so it's important that we give them the diversity, not just of ad content to our target list, but the diversity of platforms where and how they will consume our content. So it's not just Twitter per se. As a marketer, it's a must.
The main concept here, and I think you said before, is more opportunities. You need to have more opportunities to engage with your target audience. And basically, LinkedIn is a fantastic place to find your audience, but people go to LinkedIn every once in a while where they want to snoop on their industry, or they want to find the next job, or they want to do some reconnaissance on their competitors. But people come to Twitter to talk about their industry, but they're also huge NBA fans, so they come to see the latest scores. They want to see what's going on around them. So you have more opportunities to engage with your target audience on Twitter, and you can do that for different types of content. You can do that with video. You can do it with polls. You can do it with carousels that are much more creative, and basically you have more control, more opportunities to do the same strategy and to basically execute it effectively on Twitter. The only thing that you need to do is basically be strategic about it, use the right tools to create your targeting, and then make sure that your content is entertaining, engaging, and relevant to your audience. Otherwise, what are you doing as a marketer?
Wait, hold on. I love this question. I just tweeted this 2 days ago. Janice Temple about cannabis.
I mean, yeah.
Did you see my tweet about from Chong, Cheech and Chong? Okay, so you can go to my Twitter, Janice, and I don't know, scroll down the last 2 days, and I took a screenshot of a marijuana ad. Don't ask why they're targeting me. They have a new flower, but they didn't use. It was very implied. They used the word flower. They didn't use the word cannabis or marijuana or weed. So there is a way to do it. I know Chong is doing it. You can go to you'll see a screenshot in my feed, because an advertiser, I've also found it to be fascinating what you are allowed, not allowed to do. So Google is notorious for blocking a lot of different content from Google Ads, as an example. So we've had, when I worked with Teva, it was the same thing. We did a lot of LinkedIn, right? We couldn't even do Google. We had another client that they do safe delivery of certain drugs at like very low temperatures, and because the drug is mentioned on their website, and I was like, "Can we take this down?" They're like, "No, we can't take this down," even though it wasn't like so prominent, but like we can. Especially for SEO, we weren't doing their SEO because we definitely been against that. So we couldn't be able to do Google Ads for them. That includes display, that includes remarket, includes YouTube, etc. And there's a lot of other things where Google and Facebook are strict, and I find that Twitter and LinkedIn are less so. So what other than, are there any industries that you cannot advertise on Twitter, right? So let's say drugs, alcohol, gambling. I don't know. Go on.
So basically, for each one of these verticals, we have our own policy and different guidelines based on the country that you want to target. So let's say with cannabis and CBD, there's been a relaxation with the Twitter policy. So now, if you are a managed advertiser on Twitter, you can basically advertise your cannabis and CBD business on Twitter in particular countries where this is allowed. So in I think in the US, and in Canada, you can do it. And our policies keep on evolving. If you want to advertise alcohol, obviously you can do that, but then you'll have to limit the age of the people that are being exposed to your ads according to the local law. And
Wait,
basically,
hold on 1 minute. The advertiser has to do that. You don't automatically know and pick up. It has the word alcohol, so in America, will only serve to people 21 plus, etc. Or did you say the advertiser is responsible for the age targeting?
basically this is already a part of the system. If you do a Twitter takeover in a particular country, the system will automatically will know that you're an alcohol advertiser, and this will limit
Got it.
your
So I don't have to. So if I'm targeting, sorry to interrupt you, I just want the clarity.
yeah.
If I'm targeting America and Canada, right? America, you can't drink till you're 21. Canada, you can drink till you're 18. They're in the same campaign, same messaging. It makes total sense. Same time zones. It will only show. I don't have to do age targeting. It will by default serve my ads 18 plus in Canada and 21 plus in America. Is that correct?
You'll basically, it is advised to separate these campaigns by country, and then the age limitation should be applied.
Right. So the canvas is also obviously be related to the country where it is legal. But I wonder if it has to do with the states and all that, but I'm not going to, now is not the time to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's recap our advertising unless there's anything else we can discuss on it. If not, then I would like to finish. Everyone has any more questions, drop them. I want to talk about, after advertising, we'll review if there are any more questions. We definitely want to talk about Twitter Spaces, product roadmap, x.com, not a porn site. Where how Twitter is actually going to be more than a social media platform, and there's and subscriptions and other ways that you can maybe monetize and gated content. These are all different things. So from advertising, we discussed you can exclude any keyword, any handle. You don't need your ad to show to whomever you want. You can exclude, and you can also exclude your keyword so it doesn't show up on the same screen. That's good. And then you can target your competitors by literally making them a keyword target, including your competitor target product name. Oh, I want to talk about events. And then we can do ABM, as we started talking about with Thomas and Elad. Thomas is a friend of mine from the chat. If you want to do ABM, any B2B targeting by companies, targeting by industries or anything, email me. We'll set that up. If you want a free gold check, save $1,000 a month because you're going to advertise and you'll get some of the perks of the gold check of the features for free, email me and we'll get that scheduled also. Let's talk about event advertising. And then we can move on to spaces and the other fun stuff and product roadmap.
So okay, so event targeting. I think that events are integral part of any tech related marketing strategy, and obviously it's a little bit hard to find out the right events where you want to actually target. But I think that any industry, any marketer, they have their own calendar of the key events where they want to target. So right now you can go to events targeting on Twitter, and if you don't find your event, you can email us and ask the event to be added. Basically, this will make sure that you're targeting people that engage with that particular handle of the events or the particular hashtag of the event, and this will allow you to basically target that audience on Twitter. The best strategy to do so is you'll start probably 3 to 4 weeks before the event with the right messaging. For most of the companies, it will be meet us at the event, and then you'll have probably your booth number or the right person,
or also link to your landing page so they can schedule a meeting and book it directly with one of your people there. Because one of the main things that we're seeing, the highest ROI on a meeting scheduled is an in-person one. You really get to know the person. You're almost very likely, if they're qualified, you're going to be able to continue the conversation, book another meeting virtually. Let me continue to show the demo after the thing. Let's schedule something for next week. And they literally pull up the calendars together as someone who loves going to events. But you can find those hashtags, right? Or with the event targeting, we'll do people that are following the event handle, people using the hashtag, using certain keywords, and especially it ramps up towards closer to the date. And so then what you can do, because events use hashtags, and so it's very easy, by the way, for engagement tip, just liking and engaging people using the hashtag, kind of like you organize by followers, people at an event, and just start replying to them and say, hey, that's great. I'm gonna a nice booth. I'd love to come by and meet you. And just because there's a unique feeling on Twitter now that like we're on Twitter and most people aren't. And so it's like the in club, and it's eventually when more people, as Twitter rapidly grows, you don't feel like the in club. I'll give an example. I don't know if people relate to this. So like in high school when I was into punk rock, and it was like, oh, you do this like little small band, and they start to get bigger and bigger. And you're like, I knew them when no one knew them. I went to go hear them in garages locally. And you're like, screw you, man. I was like an early listener. And you know what I mean? And there was like, it was a fun thing that like very few people, and you would share their CDs kind of like that. A lot also in the rap scene too, when we would share CDs that would be burned, that would be handed out the subway in Philly. So there's that in feeling that you're able to get. So you want to get engagement on Twitter, you have like a kind of a first mover advantage now that you can get. So you can engage with people that are at an event, and they're more likely to meet up and schedule a call and see with you, because there is something special. There is an in and an out of those. Oh yeah, we're active on Twitter, when over 85%, 80% of people aren't active on Twitter at all. Anything else on events? Yeah, you were saying?
So there are two unique ideas that I saw when it comes to event promotion. So as part of your strategy for the event, you can basically advertise the company, but you can also target the people from your company that are speaking on the events. So this is a part of the influencer strategy. You can basically get an approval from a particular handle, and then you will promote that handle, a personal handle, for your company account. So this is a great opportunity to promote your CEO or your CTO if they're speaking at a particular events. And then one cool thing that I saw different companies do before the event, they do Twitter Spaces of like a nice.
What's that, Elad?
So they do Twitter Spaces of like a pre-chat before the actual event. So it's less button up. People are more open. People are joining on their free time. They can tap into that conversation later on, and it would just give them like a glimpse into the main topic. So you can do that before you actually go on stage, or you can do it as a follow-up after you talked at the event, and then people can engage with you, and basically you can get more deeper messaging, whereas in the event you're more button up, and you have your own little speech. But then on Twitter Spaces, you can be more open, you can be more frank about what you want, and then you can bring people into Twitter Spaces, and then allow them to engage with you, bring up their own ideas, and this will be on Twitter, and then you can use that material later on.
Yeah, we're seeing some comments and love for the Spaces. So are you familiar with the app that I think now went defunct called Anchor?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of people like Gary Vee were like talking it up, audio is the future, and audio is. But so I try to listen and use this app, or like Clubhouse or whatever, and I think they're Israeli. And you would listen to them and been like, they're slow. It's live, so I can't like play it up at like 1.5 speed or whatever. And they bring people on, and I'm like, this is so painful. I can watch so many things on demand that was live, played at faster space. And I can look at the reviews and all of that literally finished an hour, 2 hours ago. So it's just as relevant, let's say, listening to it live, right? So the advantage for Spaces, if I wanted to use it, it is an audio in a sense, like if I wanted to create a space, what is the best way for me to create it? Like as an example, let's say we wanted to have this conversation on Twitter Spaces. Could we do that?
Yeah. Yeah, so basically we would.
I have follow-up questions. That was the layup, but yeah.
But basically we can go, both of us, on Twitter Spaces, start our own space.
How does one go on Twitter Spaces? Is this a separate app?
No,
I know. I'm just trying
it's a,
to. People don't
it's
know, so I'm trying to
well,
feed you to make it
it's
easy for
right.
them.
It's right on the Twitter app. It's on the central navigation. You can go to Twitter Spaces. You start your own space. Then you invite the speakers. You give them. You basically allow them to participate in the space, and then people listen. They comment. They see who is speaking. You can highlight a particular tweet that you're talking about, and then you will just go on and on. I can give a huge shout out to an Israeli tech podcast called Weekly Sync. They're basically recording their podcast live on Twitter Spaces, and then later on publishing that podcast into Spotify and wherever podcasts are being served. Um, and this is just a great opportunity for them to record in public and then bring up people from their audience to give their own take about that particular topic that they discussed. And it just gives them more opportunities to engage with their target audience, and then later on bring something that is more rich and profound and a little bit unscripted, which is in my opinion, much more interesting than a scripted podcast.
Right, unscripted, and that's one of the why people like Twitter, and that's probably why one of the most influential. Here we got literally someone quoting Elon from a tweet. Is that the most influential people are? So a lot of buyer decisions, a lot of people that like to think on their free time. A lot of the big thinkers are, and that's also I do think why it is relevant for B2B advertising if you're targeting people that are at enterprises, decision makers. A lot I find that to be too. Can two people how do two people co-host Twitter Space?
So you start your own Twitter Space, you invite someone in, you give them like a host permission, and then you have two hosts in the same space.
Awesome. You could also probably search that on Twitter or on Google or somewhere else.
And then keep in mind that this will pop up on both of their feeds and networks. So
here, Rachel says to Janice, only one person gets at the space, and then as soon as the other host starts the space, they can invite the co-host. Okay,
yeah.
Which is like most things that go live, almost like kind of like we did here. Rachel, maybe we'll do a space and we can show people, do it in person since you like live a few kilometers away. Okay, product roadmap, and then what the hell is X?